Don't wait up tonight. I'm with someone better, she said. I quietly changed the locks. Now she's begging outside the door she thought she'd never need again. Hey viewers, before we move on to the video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if you want to see more stories like this. Thanks. I don't think anyone goes into a relationship expecting betrayal. I sure didn't. I thought I'd found someone I could build a future with. Her name was Rachel, and for 2.5 years, she was the center of my world. When we met, she was just finishing her degree, broke most of the time, living with 2 roommates who constantly fought. I had a stable job in IT, nothing glamorous, but it paid well. I had my own apartment, a reliable car, and a decent routine. She always said she admired that about me, that I was grounded. In the beginning, Rachel seemed grateful. She used to smile when I picked her up from campus or brought groceries to her place. She'd kiss me on the cheek and tell me I was too good to her. I thought it was sweet. I thought she meant it. When her lease was up, she moved in with me. I didn't even think twice. It felt natural. My place was bigger, quieter, safer. Rent and utilities were already in my name, so I just kept covering them. She offered to contribute, but between internships and part-time shifts at a cafe, she never had much left after her own expenses. I told her not to worry about it. We're a team, I said. When you graduate and start working, we'll even it out. I believed that. I thought love was about carrying the weight for each other when one person couldn't. But slowly, little cracks started showing. Rachel was the type who loved attention. She dressed to turn heads, always snapping pictures for Instagram. She'd scroll through likes and comments for hours, smiling at her phone. At first, I didn't care. It felt harmless. Everyone posts online. But then came the comments from guys. Some were strangers, some she knew. One night I asked, "Doesn't it bother you that half your followers are dudes leaving heart emojis and calling you hot?" She laughed. "Oh, please. They're just boosting my confidence. It's not like I'd ever actually go for them." I let it slide. Maybe I shouldn't have. Then there were the jokes. She'd make digs about me being predictable. Like when I suggested a quiet dinner at home after a long work week, she'd roll her eyes. "You're such a grandpa, you know that? Don't you ever want to do something exciting?" Or when her friends came over and teased me for being the guy who always works, she didn't defend me. She joined in. "Yeah, he's basically married to his spreadsheets," she'd laugh, even while sitting in the apartment my job paid for. It stung, but I brushed it off. I figured she was just young, still finding her footing, and that once life settled down, she'd appreciate stability more. I kept giving. When she had late-night study sessions, I'd stay up to drive her, so she wouldn't have to take the bus. When she stressed about exams, I cooked her meals, cleaned up, made sure she had space to focus. I told myself that's what a good boyfriend does. Looking back, I realized it was always one-sided. She loved the security I gave her, but she craved the thrill of being admired by other people. She wanted both, the safe net and the dangerous game. And I was too blind to see it then. The first real gut punch came at a party. One of her friends, half drunk, laughed a little too hard at something Rachel said and blurted, "God, your boyfriend is so tame. I don't know how you haven't gotten bored yet." I expected Rachel to brush it off, to say something like, "I love him just the way he is." Instead, she smirked and said, "Well, there's a reason I go out with you guys. I need some excitement in my life." Everyone laughed. I forced a smile, but inside, it felt like someone had twisted a knife. Later, when I brought it up, she waved it off. "Relax. It was a joke. Don't be so sensitive." That was her favorite line whenever she crossed a boundary. Don't be so sensitive. I wish I'd realized then what those little dismissals meant. But I didn't. I told myself she was just young, just careless with words. That she didn't mean it. So I stayed. I stayed because I thought loyalty and love could make up for disrespect. But soon, I'd learned just how wrong I was. It happened on a Friday night. One of those long weeks where all I wanted was to sit on the couch, order takeout, and just breathe. Rachel came out of the bedroom in a black dress I hadn't seen before, short and glittery, the kind that made it clear she wasn't dressing for me. I looked up from the couch. "Wow, you're dressed up. Where are you headed?" She didn't even look at me while fixing her lipstick in the mirror. "Out." "Out where?" I asked, sitting up a little. She smirked, finally meeting my eyes in the glass. "Don't wait up tonight. I'm with someone better." At first, I thought I misheard. My chest tightened. "What?" She turned around, her expression sharp, almost bored. You heard me. I'm going out with someone who actually knows how to have fun. You should be grateful, honestly. It's not like you could keep up. The room went quiet. My brain scrambled for words. Part of me wanted to explode, to shout, to ask who he was. But her face told me everything I needed to know. She was daring me to react. She wanted me to beg, to get angry, to fight for her. Instead, I just nodded slowly. Understood. That was it. No yelling. No accusations. No desperate questions. Just that one word. She blinked, thrown off by my calmness, then rolled her eyes. God, you're so boring. Whatever. Don't wait up. She grabbed her purse and walked out the door, heels clicking against the floor like a gavel sealing my sentence. I sat there for a long time after the door shut, staring at the empty space where she'd just stood. The silence felt heavy, but underneath the ache in my chest, something clicked. This wasn't a fight. This wasn't a rough patch. This was who she was. And I realized I didn't have to live like this. I stood, went to the kitchen drawer, and pulled out the spare set of locks I'd bought months ago when a neighbor mentioned a break-in on our street. I'd never gotten around to installing them. Funny how timing works. Within an hour, the locks were changed. Her key would be useless. I gathered her things, clothes, shoes, makeup, little trinkets she'd left all over the apartment. I didn't touch anything sentimental. I wasn't going to burn her stuff or trash it. I just packed it neatly into boxes and set them by the door. On top, I left a note written in my neatest handwriting. Don't come back. The keys won't work. That was it. No explanation. No long message. Just facts. When I was done, I looked around my apartment. It felt different, lighter, somehow. Empty, yes, but empty in a way that promised peace instead of chaos. I showered, changed into sweatpants, and sat back down on the couch. For the first time in months, I felt calm. Rachel wanted me to wait up for her, but she'd never expected me to stop waiting altogether. The next morning, I woke up earlier than usual. For the first time in a long time, the apartment was completely silent. No sound of Rachel rummaging through the bathroom drawers, no hairdryer humming, no half-empty coffee mug sitting on the counter. It felt strange. Not good yet, just strange. I made myself coffee and sat at the table, staring at the boxes stacked by the door. I kept waiting for the pounding. For her to storm in with that sharp tongue of hers, demanding to know why the locks didn't work. But the minutes turned to hours, and the knock never came. Instead, my phone lit up around noon with a single text from Rachel. Rachel, hey, where's my key? It's not working. I didn't reply. Half an hour later, Rachel, are you kidding me? What did you do? Still, I stayed quiet. I put my phone face down and forced myself not to touch it. Blocking her felt like the only logical step, but I didn't want to do it while emotions were still fresh. So I left the messages sitting there like smoke from a fire I'd already walked away from. By the evening, she switched tones. Rachel, look, I think you're overreacting. Can you just let me in so we can talk? I didn't even open the thread again after that. Instead, I called a friend, someone I hadn't seen much since Rachel, and I got serious. He invited me out for a beer. Sitting across from him, telling him what had happened, I expected sympathy, maybe even disbelief. Instead, he shook his head and said, Man, we all saw it. She never respected you. You just didn't want to see it. That stung. But it was the kind of sting that wakes you up. The days that followed were quiet. Almost too quiet. At night, I caught myself glancing at the door, half expecting her to burst in. My body was used to the cycle of chaos, the constant roller coaster of her moods, the sharp digs followed by sweet apologies. Without that, I felt unsteady. But then something strange happened. I started sleeping better. I woke up without the knot in my chest that had been there for months. I cooked meals I actually enjoyed instead of rushing to make whatever she liked. I left my socks on the floor for a day just because I could. I turned on my old guitar and remembered I used to love playing before Rachel teased me that it was lame. Piece by piece, my life started feeling like mine again. Rachel, meanwhile, kept trying. A string of texts piled up over the next week. Rachel, I don't know why you're acting like this. You're being childish. Rachel, so what, you're just done? After everything. Rachel, I made a mistake, okay? But you can't just cut me out like I'm nothing. I didn't answer a single one. Finally, I muted her number and blocked her on social media. And with that, the silence became real. For the first time in 2.5 years, I wasn't holding my breath, waiting for the next jab or the next apology. I was free. It didn't take long for the updates to start trickling in. I hadn't gone looking for them. I wasn't stalking her socials or asking around. But when you share mutual friends, word finds its way to you whether you want it or not. The first sign came 2 weeks after she walked out. I was at the gym when one of Rachel's old classmates, someone I barely knew, waved at me. She leaned closer and whispered, "So, heard Rachel's upgrade didn't pan out too well." I raised an eyebrow. "Upgrade?" She smirked. Her words, not mine. "You didn't hear it from me." Then she walked off, leaving me with more questions than answers. Later, a buddy filled me in. Apparently, the guy Rachel had left with wasn't some big catch. He was a bartender she'd met through one of her friends, the kind of guy who lived paycheck to paycheck and loved the party scene. For a while, she flaunted him, posting pictures, captions about how he made her feel alive, the usual nonsense. But then, just as suddenly, the post stopped. A few days later, I heard why. He dropped her, my friend said. Apparently she thought it was serious, but to him, she was just another fling. As soon as she started talking about moving in with him, he cut her off. I shouldn't have felt anything. But I won't lie, there was a flicker of satisfaction. Not because I wanted her to hurt, but because it confirmed what I already knew. She had thrown away stability for an illusion. After that, things spiraled fast. Mutual acquaintances said she was bouncing between couches, staying with different friends because she couldn't afford rent on her own. She tried going back to her old roommates, but they wanted nothing to do with her. Something about her burning bridges when she left. She looked miserable in the few pictures that surfaced. No makeup, messy hair, wearing the same hoodie in every shot. Gone was the smug, glittery girl who told me not to wait up. Meanwhile, my life kept moving forward. Work got better. With no constant drama at home, I could focus again. I even landed a small promotion. I started hitting the gym more, eating better, sleeping without interruptions. My friends noticed the change. "You look lighter," one of them said. Like a weight's been lifted. They were right. The irony wasn't lost on me. Rachel had left because she thought I wasn't exciting enough. She thought I was safe, predictable, boring. Yet here I was, thriving. And there she was, drifting from couch to couch, the life of the party nobody wanted around anymore. I didn't gloat. I didn't reach out. But every time my phone buzzed with another desperate message from her, I remembered the way she looked me in the eye and said, "Don't wait up tonight. I'm with someone better." And I thought, better than who? Better than what? Because from where I was standing, she'd never had it worse. The first real wave of her desperation came about a month after she walked out. By then, her silence on social media was impossible not to notice. The glittery party photos were gone. No more captions about new adventures. Just a blank feed. Then my phone buzzed. "Rachel, hey, can we talk? I think we should work things out." I stared at it, shaking my head. No apology, no acknowledgement of what she'd done. Just a casual suggestion like nothing had happened. I didn't reply. 2 days later, "Rachel, I made a mistake, okay? You're the only one who ever really cared about me. I see that now." Still nothing from me. Then came the guilt trip. "Rachel, wow. So you're just going to ignore me? After everything I did for you? You owe me at least a conversation." I actually laughed at that one. Everything she did for me. I'd carried that relationship from day one. After another week of silence, she called. When I didn't answer, she called again. And again. Finally, one night around 11 p.m., the pounding on my door started. I opened it just enough to see her standing there. Hair messy, mascara streaked, hoodie pulled over her head. Nothing like the polished, smug girl who strutted out a month ago. "Why aren't you answering me?" she snapped. "Because there's nothing left to say," I replied calmly. Her eyes widened. "Nothing left to say? Are you serious? We lived together for 2 years. You can't just erase that." "You managed it pretty easily," I said. She flinched, but pressed on. "Look, I was stupid, okay? I got caught up in, I don't know, wanting more. But he didn't mean anything. Not really. You're the one who knows me. You're the one who stayed." I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. "And when you had me, that wasn't enough." Your words, not mine. Her face twisted, desperation breaking through. "You're seriously going to let one mistake ruin us? People mess up. Couples fight. You can't just throw it all away because I slipped." I shook my head. "You didn't slip, Rachel. You jumped. For a moment, She looked like she might cry. But then anger took over. You think you're so perfect? You're not. You're just boring, predictable, safe. That's why I. She stopped, catching herself. I raised an eyebrow. That's why you what? Told me not to wait up while you went out with someone better? Her face crumpled. I didn't mean it like that. I was trying to get a reaction out of you. You were so cold, so distant. No, I cut in. I wasn't distant. I was steady. And you didn't want steady. You wanted drama. Chaos. Someone to worship you for a while until you got bored. She looked at me like I'd slapped her. So that's it. You're just done with me. I nodded once. I was done the night you walked out. She stood there for a moment, trembling with a mix of rage and desperation. Then she shoved past me, trying to push her way into the apartment. I'm not leaving until we fix this. I didn't raise my voice. I just picked up one of the boxes I'd packed for her weeks ago, set it in her arms, and guided her back toward the door. Her voice cracked as she shouted, "You'll regret this. Nobody's going to love you the way I did." I closed the door gently in her face. And for the first time in a long time, I knew she was right. Nobody would ever love me the way she did. And that was exactly what I wanted. After the night I shut the door in her face, I thought that would be the end of it. But Rachel wasn't finished humiliating herself yet. A couple weeks later, I went to a mutual friend's birthday dinner at a restaurant downtown. I almost didn't go, but I figured enough time had passed that I wouldn't run into her. I was wrong. The moment I walked in, I saw her at the bar. She was alone, swirling a drink, scanning the room like she'd been waiting for me. Her face lit up when she saw me, like she'd just spotted a life raft in the middle of the ocean. She hopped off the stool and practically sprinted over. "Finally," she breathed, grabbing my arm. "I've been trying to get you to talk to me for weeks. Can we please go outside? Just 5 minutes. Please." I sighed. Everyone was staring already, and I didn't want a scene. So I nodded and let her pull me out to the sidewalk. The second the door closed behind us, she launched into it. I was wrong, okay? About everything. About him, about us. I didn't mean it when I said you weren't enough. You were more than enough. I don't know. I was stupid. I panicked. I thought I wanted freedom, excitement, whatever. But none of it means anything without you. Her voice cracked, and her eyes filled with tears. She clutched at my hands like her life depended on it. "I miss us," she whispered. "I miss you. Please, just give me another chance. I'll do whatever it takes. I'll prove it to you." For a moment, I just looked at her. This was the same girl who had laughed in my face as she packed her things. The same girl who told me not to wait up. The same girl who thought I'd always be there as her safety net. I gently pulled my hands free. "Rachel, you're only here because he didn't work out. Not because you suddenly realized what I'm worth." "That's not true," she protested, shaking her head. "I swear it's not." "It is," I said firmly. "If he hadn't blown up in your face, you wouldn't be here begging. And I'm not going to be your backup plan. Not now. Not ever." Her face crumpled, and she whispered, "So that's it? You're really done with me?" "Yes," I said, calm and final. "I was done the night you walked out. You just didn't realize it yet." For a long moment, she stared at me, like she was trying to find some crack in my resolve. But there wasn't one. Finally, she let out a choked laugh, wiped her face with the back of her hand, and muttered, You're going to regret this." I shook my head. No, I already regret wasting as much time as I did. She spun on her heel and stormed down the street, her shoulders hunched, her anger barely masking her humiliation. I went back inside, sat down at the table with my friends, and ordered a drink. And for the first time in a long time, I felt completely free. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. What do you think about this story? Share it in the comments.